Good evening, and we're underway with this regular meeting of the Helotes City Council. It's May 12th, 2016, and it is 7 p.m. Before we get started, I would like to ask if anyone has a cell phone or other type of electronic communication device, if you would please turn it to off, silent, or vibrate. We would certainly appreciate it. And before we get started on the agenda, you see we have a room full of scouts, and I started taking names, but they kept coming in, so I'm just going to run over first names rather than last names, but they all are from Troop 484, and they meet at the Helotes Lions Club, and all of these guys and their scout masters and advisors set up with us and sell popcorn and sodas and stuff at each one of our 5 movie nights during the year. So we appreciate the scouts being here and hope they learn something. They're working on their community badges, merit badges, and communication badges. And so hopefully y'all will benefit from the meeting. If you have any questions, if you stay till the meeting's over, and it shouldn't be too long tonight, come up and the council members will be glad to answer any questions you have, and as will I. But we have Grayson, stand up. And Logan, where's Logan? Okay. Adam, there you go. And Henry, and those guys are brothers. Pierce, and Blake, Colin, okay, and Aiden. Did I catch everybody? Okay, well, welcome again. Appreciate you being here. Okay, that being said, we'll move on to our agenda. We'll open the agenda tonight with our invocation, and that will be handled by Council Member Massey. And then we'll have the pledge to the American and Texas flag. So if you would stand for the invocation and pledges.
Dear Lord, thank you for this community, for a successful Carnival parade and festival, and for all the volunteers who make such events possible. We are grateful for our city staff that represents the city in such a professional manner. We ask special blessings on our fire and police forces for their continued safety in their line of work. Tonight, this council asks for wisdom as we deliberate during our meeting. Help us to make the right decisions for our community with courtesy and consideration. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Okay, next up we have a proclamation, and this is going to be presented to our Public Works Department and supporting the National Public Works Week, which is May 15th through 21st. This little guy is our public works supervisor. I remember when we were interviewing for this position, and he came in, and he was one of, I guess, 15 or so applicants, and he kept floating to the top. But we appreciate it, and that was, what, 5 years ago? Close to it? Good. And now he was the only public works employee, so he moved around a lot. Now we have 3, and he's the supervisor, so he gets to point to wherever the work needs to be done. But he does pitch in, and he's still there with the guys, but he does have help now, and we're glad to be able to do that. Anyway, this says, Office of the Mayor, Helotes, Texas, proclamation, Public Works always there. It says, whereas Public Works is the combination of physical assets, management practices, policies, and personnel necessary for a municipality to provide and sustain structures and services essential to the welfare and acceptable quality of life for its citizens. And whereas Public Works Week is a 56-year-old public education event that recognizes essential services provided by Public Works systems and programs, including streets, rights-of-way, public buildings, animal control, drainage maintenance, stormwater management, recycling events, and other city projects. And whereas all of the public works services provided in our community are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives, and whereas the work ethic and efficiency of our qualified and dedicated personnel, Public Works Supervisor Joshua Mayer, Animal Control Officer Dustin Blosky, and Public Works Assistant Justin Vincent, reflect the highest standards of professionalism while striving to improve our city services and the quality of life for our citizens. Now therefore, I, Thomas A. Schoolcraft, on behalf of the members of City Council, and by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Helotes, Texas, do hereby proclaim the week of May 15th through 21st, 2016 as Public Works Week. Public Works always there. And recognize and commend our Public Works employees for their service to our community. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused this seal to be affixed. Congratulations. I was getting tired of holding hands with him. I would like to say, too, that Josh has undergone extensive training in various fields of study, starting with vector control. For those of you that don't know, vectors are mosquitoes, and so he's learned how to kill mosquitoes. He's also certified in animal control and helps with that when he needs to. He's our stormwater management inspector when development starts, and they have a program where they have their silt fences and detention ponds. Josh goes out and inspects all of that. He goes through plans and makes sure the plans are correct. So we're glad to have him.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, next on our agenda is a public hearing, and we're going to open this public hearing at 7:08. And this public hearing is to give all interested persons the right to appear and be heard on amendments to the office medical definition contained within the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 98 zoning, Section 98-72 Old Town Helotes Special District, subsection C4, use and definitions. Grace, do we have anyone sign up? Okay, with no one signed up to speak, we will close the public hearing, and we will close it at 7:08. Next up, we have citizens to be heard. Anybody sign up? No one signed up to speak to us tonight from the citizens to be heard section, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. For those of you that are new to this type of meeting, the consent agenda is generally a grouping of items that are put together and considered fairly routine by not only me but the staff. And the intent is for council to be able to act upon all of the items in the consent agenda with one motion and 1 second, and consequently one vote. Tonight we have items 5 through 7. Since it is lumped together and there's a chance of questions, if any of the council members would like to ask a question that we can answer fairly quickly, and simply they can ask that question. Otherwise, they can request that an item on the consent agenda be pulled for complete discussion, and then it will be dropped down into the rest of the agenda. So that being said, I would ask council on items 5 through 7 and the consent agenda, are there any questions or requests to pull an item? Anybody? Okay, no questions or discussion being requested. I would ask for a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 5 through 7.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we approve consent agenda items 5 through 7.
We have a motion from Byes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Fredericks. No discussion required. We'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Consent agenda items 5 through 7 are approved. That moves us to our items for individual consideration tonight. Item number 8. The first item under individual consideration is discussion and action of an ordinance. This stems from the public hearing, amending the office medical definition in the Old Town Special District. So I would ask for a motion and a second to discuss and take action on this item, please.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we discuss and take action on item 8.
We have a motion from Fredericks. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Byes. So Paul, it's your motion. You're up first on discussion.
I looked at the definition. I like the definition. I did see that the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend the definition change. I think the definition is a good definition. It's pretty concise in what we expect down there. So I'm all in favor of changing the definition.
Okay, Bert?
I agree with Councilmember Fredericks. My only question is, they put in the words I guess maybe it's just one word, non-emergency office. I guess that is to stop like an emergency clinic from going in over there? Because we all know medical emergencies happen, and a lot of times they can happen in a doctor's office. So I'm kind of wondering whether or not we even need to put those words in there. I don't think we really need them, but if everybody else feels like they need to leave them, I guess I could go for that.
Anything else?
No.
Cynthia?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. Ed?
No, I don't have anything. Thank you.
Alex?
I'm fine. I think that our staff has a clear understanding of what's intended by it, and I think that works out.
Okay. Paul, any follow-up?
No, sir.
Bert, anything else? Okay. That being the end of discussion, we'll call the question. All in favor of approving item number 8, the amending the definition of office medical for the Old Town Special District, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Item 8 is approved. Next, we have item number 9, which is discussion and action on an ordinance approving an encroachment license agreement within the Old Town Special District. So, again, I'll ask for a motion and a second on this item.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we discuss, take action on agenda item number 9.
We have a motion from Byes. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Massey. And this pertains to a request put in by Byron Faust from Elf Industries, and Byron is here. In case you have any questions, we can ask him to come up front. Otherwise, we'll open the discussion, and Bert, you're up first.
Mayor,
Okay.
but prior to that, did the councilman
Oh,
want
yeah,
to abstain?
I forgot to mention Councilman Villanueva, since he's a business owner or property owner in Old Town, he has recused himself from this item, so he won't be participating in the discussion or in the vote. Okay, we cleared that up. So, Bert, if you would.
I do have some questions for Byron, if you wouldn't mind answering.
Byron, if you would come up to the podium, and please state your name and who you represent.
My name is Byron Faust. I represent Elf Hardware.
Byron, thanks for coming. I'm for the idea of you getting your reserved parking space. The only thing I don't see on here is, or do you want that for 24/7? Or would you like it just for business hours, or what are you
I'd
trying
like
to
to have
get?
for 24/7. And the reason why we do this, if there's different events that come up, and I also have another shop in my store, Closed Tactical, we never have any parking spots. And so that's why we'd like to try to get the parking spots reserved.
Okay, I just know that Floors, they have their deal, and it's been out there for years, I understand that, but what is that, the barbecue pit or whatever it is out front? It's been out there for years, but that's in our right-of-way also. And then we have another business down the road, the automotive shop, that uses a lot of parking on Old Bandera and Riggs. So, and Elf has been how long have you been here?
Since February 1970.
Been here a
46 years.
long time. It's been a staple of Old Town. So, in my mind, I don't see a problem with, but I'm still kind of mulling over whether or not to give it to you for 24/7. So,
Okay, well, anything would help.
Yes, sir.
And the reason why I ask for 24/7, when Floors does have an event,
Yeah.
the owners from Floors asked me to try to save them some spots in the front.
Yes,
So
sir.
to accommodate them, I try to do that.
Okay.
Because they're my neighbors.
well, you're helping your neighbor.
And I'm not charging them. So that's always been coming up, because that comes up from Joe, I guess the enforcement officer,
Yes,
and about me charging. I never have charged for that, so,
So you're 4 years behind Ella's.
yes.
They celebrated their 50th, I think, yesterday.
And you also, yeah, and then also, I think the reason that, for the 5 spots also, if I'm not mistaken, is because you had the tactical firearms in there.
Correct, so that would be shared.
Yeah, okay,
Which actually, that's not enough, but, something's better than nothing, so.
okay. No, sir, that's all I have.
Cynthia?
The question I have is your agreement application, your encroachment license agreement application. You mentioned on here on number 5, you put need spots for customers and parking for Floors for me and my employees, also for other business owners and their guys.
Correct.
But the ordinance that we have, that's written up here, it just says, whereas Elf Industries and its tenants desire to designate, Flora's Country Store is not one of your tenants.
Correct, I know that.
So they're not going to be included in this ordinance.
Correct.
So it's basically whenever you decide that they can use, so I'm not sure how you're going to divvy this, like when they have their things at night, their concerts Friday, Saturday night.
Right.
Are you going to let them, you're going to leave those open for them, or?
I will, but I would be out there managing it. And also, I also park cars over there, so it's also for my guys that help me also.
Okay, and so you won't be charging for this? Okay. That's all for now.
Paul?
How many times per day do you run into this problem?
Weekly.
Where you don't have
Weekly.
enough parking spaces for
What
your-
happens is a lot of times, we have market days, which is understandable, but almost every Saturday, we have an event from Roger Solers. They have bicycle events, and I get there at 6:45, I have 0 parking spots, nothing. So, you ask these guys, can you move? And you get in an argument with them, so that's why it's come to this.
Okay, and I guess I'm kind of agreeing with Councilman Byes that I don't think we can do this 24/7. I wouldn't support 24/7.
Okay.
Because you're not open, there's
Correct.
days when you're closed, so there's no
Sure.
need for you to reserve those spots.
Understand.
On the days you're closed or when you're not doing business. I'm kind of supporting this because I want to support the businesses down
Sure.
there. But I guess the issue I have is if you want 5 spots and now, the next business down the road, he wants 5 spots, and then we start running out of spots down there to park.
That's what's
So-
wrong with that. You're supposed to, in my opinion, I might be wrong in answering this way, but you're supposed to support the businesses. That's our only survival. If we can't have a reserved spot, what are we gonna do with our customers? They drive off, they don't come back. Most of them do. I'd say 99% of them do, but it's an inconvenience for them. So I like to say thank you to them for having a spot, for them to have, so that's a reason for that.
Right, and I understand. But again, what happens when Solers wants 5 spots and then, all the coffee shop wants 5 spots, and so then you start running out of spots down there real quick. So that's the only thing that I have to.
I see what you're
kind of work.
saying, but I still would say it's good for the businesses. They have that right to ask for spots. Before, when you didn't have O-Town, like in front of my store, I owned all that property. Y'all came in, or the old town came in, they took that property away from me, now I have no parking spots. Or I have no control, let me go back and say it that way.
Yeah, that was city property, it was just never defined as such.
Well, no, it's not. Before, it was my property, and I could show you exactly where the boundaries were. And we had, half of that was on our property and half was on city property. So who was that be, mine or the city's? At that time?
I know there was no taking at that time, so I'm pretty sure we were in our right of way. I'd have to look into that.
Well, and that
There
might
was
be,
no-
I mean,
there was no
that's not the
taking of your
argument
property.
that I'm, so.
So you're saying kind of where you fenced it in, that used to be, you were able to park cars where you kind of fenced it in? And that sufficed when you were,
Yeah, there was no defined parking down there like there is
Right.
now.
We just had open asphalt right there, so, and we had a curb, so,
okay. Thank you, sir.
okay.
Alex?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I certainly want to support all of our businesses downtown. I think that it's been something I've always thought about. I know that we have a lot of activities, especially some of those really give more exposure to the businesses there. My concern, I guess, like Councilmember Fredericks, is the fact that these are public spots. And the minute you start giving exclusive right of use to a private entity on public property, I think we start going down a very dangerous path. And I know what you say is, well, that's fine, we'll support the businesses, but what if every parking space in Old Town was dedicated to one business or another? And then another business came in and said, sorry, you're too late, you can't have one. Or what if somebody wanted to come in and walk in the potential park that we're gonna have down that direction? Or what if they were gonna be just wanting to be a sightseer and didn't wanna go to your business, but they were just gonna wanna walk through a whole lot of places? Would you have the right to kick them out? Just a minute.
Sure.
That's my worry, is that we're really setting a precedent that makes it very dangerous moving forward. We want to draw businesses in, but what if the doctor that just is about to move in his spot, he wants 3 in front of him? And then B-Daddy says, but we've got a business that requires a whole lot of people because, your business has maybe 2, 3 clients at a time, maybe, hopefully more, but that's about it. But maybe his business has 15 at a time and he lobbies for 20 spaces. And then we run into starting to pick and choose who gets the preference one over the other, and that's not the place to put a public dedicated spot to. I have trouble supporting the concept of dedicating it, not for your business, but really in general of dedicating a public parking space for a private purpose of that nature. Clearly, 24/7. I think the idea, if you're even going to consider it, it has to be for the time when you're operating a business, but I don't see why we would have to reserve a space for a business that's not even open at the time. That leads to a lot of questions
Sure.
as to why would we do that. I just can't support the idea of a public parking space being dedicated to a private business.
Okay, Bert, any follow-up?
I still agree. I still think that we need to dedicate these parking spots for ELF. They've been there a long time. Byron has stated the problems that he has down there with the different events. He's trying to run a business. We need to support the businesses in any way we can. I understand Councilman Blue's concerns, but Old Town's kind of unique. I mean, that's the only place to park. I mean, he needs some help on those days. What would you, Byron, would you be willing to just take the business hours for reserved parking?
Sure.
Okay. And then another thing, does this mean that we have to put in like a handicap parking also now if we do something like this?
No.
No? Okay. And then who will enforce this? How will we enforce if we decide to vote for this, who would enforce this? Our police department, code enforcement, who? We'd have to write, would we have to, would PD have to write tickets for this? I mean, how would it work?
Most likely wouldn't write tickets. I don't think we've gotten into that detail yet. It would be very difficult for code enforcement or PD to determine if a
Right.
car
Well,
that's
see, that's-
parked there
it'd be hard
is
to enforce.
violating the reserved space requirement. So it would be a matter of you calling
Unless we
the city.
complained. Yeah.
And then we'd probably just go over there and ask them to move.
Well, we had that problem this last Saturday. We had a lady park in front of our driveway, and Jeff felt he couldn't leave to go home. So we called HPD, they came down there, they went up and made an announcement, and the lady came down, of course, moved her car and apologized, so, you know, nothing happened, so.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay. Cynthia, anything else?
Do you have any other place on your property, on your own property, that you can put a parking?
I do, but my problem is, if I do this during market days, I've got to put one of my guys out there the whole entire time that I'm open, because I'll get people come in there for market days, they just pull right in and park. So that part's an argument.
Couldn't you put a sign up saying,
They don't, I've tried that, they just drive in anyway, so
and then, so don't you think the same thing's going to happen with the 5
I
spaces?
don't know. It
You're
would
gonna
be a
still
better
have to
chance
have-
for me to do this if I had the signage and
But,
say,
so the point is, you do have space on your own property to put parking.
if it's dry.
The reason I'm bringing that up is because I already know that if we allow this, there's going to be another business owner, and I already know who that business owner is, and that's going to come and ask for the same, because this person has complained and complained about market days. Market days are in
Sure,
front of
sure.
that person's property, and this person complains all the time.
You're talking about the bicycle shop probably.
Exactly.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and I don't blame him, he's
And-
got a
but
big
he-
argument.
Okay, but he also has space in the back of his property to make private parking right off of Bandera Highway, doesn't want to do it. Okay, so this is the
Right.
point, you know, as a private property, there's space there and there's space on yours to put parking. So I tend to not think that you should be allowed to have public parking. So I'm sorry. I already know that this is going to open up a can of worms for the city if we allow this. I do believe
Then
that.
limit the amount of spaces, put in a deal that, in the ordinance, that you can only have X amount. I mean, to every business down there besides just me, they should have that right to have reserved spots for their customers to come in. Without them, they can't survive.
Byron, to keep you from being in the discussion, we're going to have to limit it to just answering questions, if you would.
okay,
Appreciate
sorry.
it. Paul, anything else?
No, sir.
Alex, any follow-up?
No, same answer, thank you.
Okay, so I don't hear any indication of changing this to business hours only, so it's still as presented, 24/7, unless someone wants to amend the motion to include only business hours. Otherwise, the vote as being called for would be to approve it as is, 24/7 for 5 reserved spaces.
No, I would like to amend my motion to include it to be business hours only. And I guess what will be put on the sign would just be business hours? Because you're not open the same time on Saturdays, are you?
No.
You'd be specific Monday through Friday, and then
And it's Saturday? Yeah. Yes, I amend my
So
motion.
you're amending the motion to include the proposal to allow the signage, but during business hours only for Elks?
Yes.
Mayor, if I may, I think it needs to be more specific than that.
Or what?
More specific than that, or what are the hours of operation?
Yeah, we'll get that. What are your hours of operation?
8:30 to 5:30, Tuesday through Friday, Saturday, 8:30 to 4.
Okay. So that would be included on the sign. Cynthia, any comments on that, or do you want to second that motion, the amended motion?
I'll second the motion to give it the opportunity. I'm still against it.
Okay, so we have a motion to amend to include business hours for ELF, Tuesday through Friday, 8:30 to 5:30. And Saturday from, what was it?
30 to 4.
8:30 to 4. Alex, any final comments? Anybody else? Okay, then we'll call the question. All in favor of the amended motion of approving the 5 reserved signs for Elf Industries to include the hours of business, 8:30 to 5:30, Tuesday through Friday, and Saturday, 8:30 to 4. So again, a yes vote will approve it, a no vote will deny it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So we have 2 buys and Fredericks in favor. All opposed?
Nay?
No.
So we have a tie vote. Since there's an abstention, I get to break the tie. when I saw this come in, I had apprehensions about it because of the 24/7, 365, basically. However, at that time, it wasn't my decision. Knowing full well the need for parking down there, the concern that I have is much like a couple of the council members, is not necessarily that everyone else is going to want parking spaces. I can see that that could happen. But those spaces are paid for by public funds. And I'll be real honest with you, I did not go into the legal aspects of allowing reserved parking spaces for private businesses. I know it's done in strip centers and shopping centers for businesses, but that's private property that belongs to the developer or the owner of the strip center. It gets very tough when you're dealing with public funds and being a municipality. What I would like to do is look at this a little more and maybe look at it again later. But as of tonight, looking at it and the request and not fully understanding how floors enters into it, it looks like your initial thought was for yourself. I know during the week when I go down there, there are generally always spaces available. I can understand on marketplace days that parking is at a premium, but I'm apprehensive about it. So I'm going to vote no tonight, and it's nothing against you or businesses, but what I would encourage you to do is come back and let's look at it a little more. We'll check the legal on it, but as of tonight, my vote has to be no.
Okay.
Okay? So this item fails, 3-2. Okay, that finishes our regular agenda. We're now going to go into a closed session. And this closed session is in accordance with Texas Government Code 551.074, personnel matters. In addition to these matters listed below, any matter scheduled for open sessions may be discussed in closed session as appropriate and authorized by law. 551.074, personnel matters on the selection of Mayor Pro Tem for the city of Helotes, Texas. So we're going to adjourn into a closed session at 7:33. This should not take too long. I would anticipate we'll be out in anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. So if you would like to stick around, we'll reconvene because no action can be taken in a closed session or executive session. That action, which is after the fact, can only be taken in open session. So we'll be back out to appoint a new mayor pro tem for the city council. So we're doing this at 7:33. This is like the jury coming back in for the verdict. I was going to say 5 minutes or less, but I didn't want to be overly optimistic. But I congratulate the council on a interesting discussion and moving right along with business. So our item is the appointment of our new mayor pro tem, so I would look for a motion and a second, please.
Mr. Mayor, do we need to make a motion to discuss and take action first, or not?
You can just make a motion to nominate,
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to nominate Councilman Al.
unless you want to talk about him, then we can discuss, but I think we
just
all know. Do you want to
No,
have a
no, that's
discussion?
fine. That's fine. I was
Okay,
just
so this
asking
is
a
your
point of order,
nomination.
sir. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to nominate Councilmember Alex Blue for Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, do we have any other nominations? None being heard, do we have a second to that motion?
I second that.
So we have a motion from Villanueva, a motion from Baez, a second from Villanueva. Any discussion? None being required, we'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Alex, congratulations. You're our new mayor pro tem. Okay, and that finishes our agenda. So if there are no objections from council, we will adjourn this meeting, and we're going to be adjourned at 7:38. Still plenty of time to go home and watch the Spurs.